Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It is Wednesday, and I'm going to break down an NBA first look on DraftKings for you guys for tonight's slate. Tremendous slate tonight. 2 more chances tonight at winning $100,000. Actually 3 if you're a big baller and you're going to play in that Thunderdome Championship. They also have the 3-figure, the $100 tournament, and the $12 tournament, all of which have $100,000 to $150,000 going to the first place winner. And congratulations, huge congratulations to friend of the show, Drew Dinkmeyer, aka Dinkpiece on DraftKings and on FanDuel, who took down the DraftKings tournament last night, the $15 tournament, for $100,000 up top. Big night for him. He's one of the content producers, one of the founders at Daily Roto. If you're interested in checking out his content, right down there in the description down below, you can find a link to take you to their content. You can use promo code SMIZLIFE at checkout, which gives you a 10% discount with MLB season coming and overlap season between NBA and MLB. Great time to get in there. And they also provide golf. If you get the elite package, you get basically all sports for one price. So Daily Roto subscribers have won, I believe, don't count me on this, I'm not fact checking this, but I believe that a Daily Roto subscriber in the last 4 nights, 3 of them have won 100K. Last night, Dink won 100K, another one won 100K on FD, and then another one won 40K. So the projections have been on point. The lineup optimizer, they are continuing to tweak constantly, which has also been on point if you're a mass multi-entry player, or if you're just using it to come up with an optimal look for your one lineup, your cash game lineup, everything else. Great things going on Daily Roto. You should definitely go and check it out. But for tonight's slate, we've got 10 games on tap, a little bit bigger than what we've seen the last few nights with 7, 8, 6 games on the slates. A little bit easier to break down the 6-game slate, a lot easier to find value on a 10-game slate because there's more chances for news, more chances for stars to sit out, more chances for players to come in and fulfill that vacuum of minutes, right? I used to have this philosophy, our zone offense philosophy when I was a basketball coach, was always when they vacate, you fill. So if, don't worry about what that means in terms of X's and O's. I can explain that on another video if y'all want. But in terms of like daily fantasy purposes, when a 30-minute player vacates the floor, those 30 minutes at that position, there's 48 minutes that have to be filled at point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. So if 30 minutes disappear from one of those positions, one of those bench players is going to fill those vacated minutes, which is going to increase their time played, which is going to increase their amount of fantasy exposure, which should increase their fantasy production. And then when you factor in that they're priced at the old minutes that they play, if they're factored in at, or they're priced in at a player that plays 12 to 14 minutes, and now they're going to play 24 to 28 minutes, instant value. Minutes always equals money. Why don't we get right to this slate? Let's break this down. As I said, 10 games on the slate. Miami visits Charlotte, Dallas at Washington, Minnesota at Detroit, Cleveland against Brooklyn, San Antonio, Atlanta, Philly, Chicago, Utah against New Orleans, New York Knickerbockers going up against the Phoenix Suns, Boston against Sacramento, Denver visits the Lakers. Whatever, the Lakers terrible. They're just awful right now. Like, they just cannot get their act together. Off the court, talk shows, podcasts, I don't care what that means, but in terms of fantasy production, you want to be streaming players, pardon me, against the Lakers on a night in, night out basis. So you also want to be having shares of LeBron James on a night in, night out basis. Last night, on the 4th against the Clippers was his worst output when they got kind of trounced. They lost that game by 8, but they were down bigger than that in the second half. LeBron did play 42 minutes, just couldn't get anything going, did not register a double-double that night, though he did have 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Another spot where he should be registering 40 minutes, which means he should be getting himself up around 60 fantasy points or more. If you want to pay for him, you can. But tonight's slate, the pricing on it and how large this slate is, and the amount of games that have massive offensive production, right? Dallas and Washington is a total of 234. You've got San Antonio, Atlanta, total of 235. Philly, Chicago, 230. Utah, New Orleans, 230. And this Denver Lakers game, 231. A lot of games that are extremely fast paced and no game under 215. So a lot of offensive output tonight. As much as I've been riding LeBron James recently because of, essentially just look at the minutes played, look at the fantasy points per minute, about 1.5 on a night in, night out basis. So knowing that you're going to get 40 minutes, it's a nice cushion. If you're playing 20 lineups, if you're playing 50 lineups, 150 lineups, you're obviously going to have your fair share of LeBron James. But as much as I subscribe to the stars and scrubs philosophy, there are a lot of players that are priced in the mid-range, right? Between 4 and 6K, and essentially from 7K to 9K, especially from 7K to 9K, and we'll get to them in just a bit, who have 50-point possibility. So yeah, LeBron James, probably a guy who's going to get you 55 to 70 points tonight, right? Just based on fantasy points per minute and the amount of minutes we expect him to play. There's a lot of players at the 7K to 9K range who should register 40 to 50 points and save you that 3K to bump up your 3K guy to another 6K guy who also could score 30 to 45 points on the evening. So it's going to be interesting to see if lineups break down to more of a balanced look tonight, as opposed to my beloved stars and scrubs that I'd love to play in NBA just because of the way that NBA breaks down. Karl-Anthony Towns, another fantastic night last night, 67 DraftKings points, playing on the second half of a back-to-back going to Detroit. Should be lower owned this evening. He's still going to carry some ownership. I'm not saying he's going to be like 3 or 5% owned. But on a 10-game slate, he's going to be nowhere near 30 to 40%. So if you want to overweight the field on somebody that might be 10 to 15%, go ahead and get after it. NIKOLA JOKIC, the guy that I really want to play tonight, going up against the Lakers. If I'm going to pay up, I'm going to come down from the price that LeBron has. Yes, we know that NIKOLA can only have like a 40 to 45 point night, but averaging 50 on the season, and I do believe that he should be able to get up with the injuries that they have, with Tyson Chandler possibly out tonight. Not that he plays a ton of minutes, but another defensive stopper. With Brandon Ingram out and them going to JaVale McGee, not exactly the best defensive player, although he does rack up blocks, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Not somebody who really moves around on the floor well. LeBron being very lazy defensively recently. Plenty of video about that on the internet. If you follow any beat writers on Twitter, any NBA accounts, you see that LeBron just isn't moving on defense. And you have a great passer like NIKOLA, surrounded by great shooters and slashers. Opportunity for a triple-double is there for the taking for NIKOLA JOKIC tonight, so that's why I want to pay up for him. I'm going to plug him in at my center spot. Joel Embiid out. You know what that means. Same things that we've said recently. Bradley Beal, fine. High-scoring game against Dallas, getting a ton of looks, playing 38 to 42 minutes pretty much every night. If you want to pay for him at 9,800, fine. But realize Kyrie Irving, same boat, right? If you want to pay for Kyrie Irving, you feel like, you know what, he didn't play that much last night because he rested the fourth quarter because they were blowing out Golden State, and it's not that much travel to go from Oakland to Sacramento. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Second game in 2 nights back to back with travel. It's not that much travel. It's like an hour away by car. So I'm not seeing the ceiling. Yes, Kyrie Irving's a guy who could go for 50 points on any night out of the blue from wherever, but he needs to do that for you to profit in a GPP tonight at his salary at 9,300, considering that underneath him is Luka going up against Washington at 9,100. Always a triple-double threat, though he's in a little bit of a lull, as is TRAE Young in a little bit of a lull. After a tremendous, 6-7 game streak, he 2 games straight under 30 points. One of those he was ejected against Chicago. Yes, he would have topped that based on his fantasy points per minute there. But at 8,900, Ben Simmons with no Embiid. This is a lot better for me than Kyrie Irving or Bradley Beal at the prices that they're at. I'm not saying that Ben Simmons is better. I'm not getting to that argument. I'm saying in terms of salary tonight on DraftKings, Ben Simmons' salary is a lot better than is Kyrie Irving's, than is Bradley Beal's, for similar production and possibly a higher upside with his ability to triple-double pretty much any night that he takes the floor. Blake Griffin, 8,600. Like this salary better for the price that we're getting. The possibility of upside. Julius Randle, 8,400. Same idea. Anthony Davis doesn't have to be out anymore for Julius Randle to go off. Considering that they're not playing Anthony Davis as much or as many minutes, even if he's active, and he's not really active the way that he was before. 39 minutes, 38 minutes, 40 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games and 50 points in each one of those where he's top 38 minutes. Always has been a fabulous fantasy point per minute producer. And now that he's getting back to those minutes, and considering on the season he's playing 30 minutes a game, for the last 10 days in those 6 games playing 36 minutes a game, no shock that his fantasy points per game has risen by 7 points per game, and way less now at 8,400 than those other players. A couple other ones that are down here. Lauri Markkanen, same idea, 8,000 going up against Philly. Terrible defensive team without Joel Embiid in there at 8,000. Way too cheap, in my opinion. D'Angelo Russell, same idea. You know that you're going to get good minutes. You know that you're going to get great fantasy points per minute going up against Cleveland. Struggles to stop anybody. And Kevin Love going up against Brooklyn at 7,500. Great production from him recently in about 28 to 30 minutes a game. The mid-range is stacked tonight. You can find a ton of players that you want to play. So it may be one tonight with a balanced lineup. If that mid-range does happen to go off, if they all have 40 to 55 points, those are the lineups that are going to do very, very well this evening. I'm going to plug Ben Simmons in because of his recent production, his recent minutes, and his fantasy point per minute with Joel Embiid off the floor, which brings us to the value plays that we need to go after. There's been a role change, and we really have to pay attention to these as the season comes to a close. 12 minutes on the season for Frank Kaminsky, but the last 2 games averaging 25.5 minutes per game, and you see the massive difference. Look at his game log over the last 10 games. 8, 4, 8, 16, 8, 9, and this wasn't a blowout, by the way, right? 8, so like he just came off the bench and played a bunch of garbage time minutes. 5, 24 minutes, 28 minutes. 26 fantasy points, 25 fantasy points, listed at 3.2K. If we can project Frank Kaminsky in a wide range of minutes, let's say we project him from between 22 to 26 minutes tonight, he should smash value. He's a player that gets shots for the time that he's out there. He's not just going to run around and not do anything like Rudy Gobert offensively. He is involved in the offense. One of his major skills is the ability to score the basketball. He is a good enough rebounder that in 20 to 30 minutes, he should be able to get you 6 to 10 rebounds, on the high side 10. So there is an outside chance at a double-double, but 18 points in real life in 28 minutes and 15 points in 24 minutes is something that I really want to go after when a player is 3,200 and seeing a massive increase in minutes. You want to monitor this as the day goes along? Fine, I get it. That's fine with me. I'm plugging Frank Kaminsky right now in my first look because it's only like 9 a.m. right now as I'm recording this video. But Frank Kaminsky fits very well at 3,200 for me on a point per minute basis at power forward. Sticking with Charlotte here, let's go with Jeremy Lamb at 5,200. Moved to the second unit and expected to score with that second unit, and we're seeing very, very good minutes in the last 4 games. 34, 35, 32, 31 shots, sitting consistently between 13 and 15 shots a night. If I can get that sort of production out of a player at 5,200, you should be able to get value out of him. I'm not expecting a 50-point night like we saw against Houston. I'm not expecting the night that he had against Golden State. Miami does play much slower than those teams, but a 30 to 35-point night, definitely not out of the question, which allows me to afford the players at the high end that I want to afford, or if you want to stick in the mid-range, this is a very easy value get for me. I can plug him in at shooting guard. And then, with the injuries that the Lakers have this evening, there's some if-then statements that we have to think about. I mentioned earlier that Chandler might be out and Brandon Ingram might be out, and if they are, JaVale McGee starts in the place of Brandon Ingram. He should also play a few more minutes without Tyson Chandler there to spell him. And when JaVale McGee's on the floor, he does things that are fantasy relevant. That's basically all it is. You can think what you think about the Lakers. You can think whatever you think about the player and his talents and his skill set and everything else for JaVale McGee. But when JaVale McGee is on the floor for a good amount of minutes, he gets rebounds because he's tall and a good jumper, finds himself around the basket a lot. He gets you points with blocks, and pick and roll with LeBron James ends very well for the big man that runs with him, whether it was Tristan, whether it was pick and pop with Kevin Love, or whether it's JaVale McGee. This is what we want to take advantage of. Again, only at 3,700. Watch your if-then statements with this one and watch the news. Always be at your workstation the final 30 to 45 minutes of the day right before lineups lock so that you can know what the best values are right up until lock, and that's the best way take advantage on DraftKings for today as we plug him in at our utility spot. So that's the 5 that I got. My stars today, Ben Simmons and NIKOLA JOKIC. My values, Jeremy Lamb, Frank Kaminsky, and JaVale McGee. If you guys appreciate this video, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notifications bell. Links to every one of my other socials is in the description down below. And let me know who the values you like are in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching again, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye.